Welcome to Techcentric Planet, where we offer a glimpse to the future of humanity through the lens of technology.
We've sought out innovators and founders who are interested in providing solutions to some of our most fundamental human-centric problems with a view to help our planet.
I'm Mary-Beth Hosking and my co-host, the amazing Professor Martin Parr. On this episode, we're doing something a little different. I will be interviewing Martin about his innovation, transforming organisations through a systems thinking lens. And we'll loop into that, not another digital transformation. So let's get into it. Martin, you ready?
I'm ready. I'm good.
So tell us about your innovation and how it will help society, people, or the planet.
So systems thinking can help us essentially see the wood for the trees. It can help us to identify points of leverage in complex systems. So what does that mean? That means that if you find a really good point of leverage, you're able to make significant changes to something without using a huge amount of effort. So a really good example of that is if you want to end a war, the most expensive, the most casualty heavy way is to put essentially a group of peacekeepers in between two armies and try to stop them shooting weapons at one another. That's really not a very great way of ending a war. If we go all the way to the other extreme, if you can go to the warring leaders' minds and you can say, hey, do you know what? We really want you to listen to this, and we think that you should take on board a few facts here and a few emotions and all the other things that you would need to do to play to those leaders. If you could get them to change their minds, then that's it. Game over. It's done. You don't have to anymore worry about people lobbing explosives at one another. You've ended that war. That's a brilliant demonstration of leverage. We can do the same thing in business. So we can use leverage to help sort out problems that have been sort of holding organisations back for years. And leverage is brilliant. Leverage is really useful. And how it will help society and the planet? Well, it will help us to reduce pollution. I mean, even if you do something really straightforward, like just reduce the number of journeys that people are taking in a company, that reduces pollution. We can avoid accidents. We can avoid unintended consequences. We can do a lot. Once you can take that whole system view, it's amazing what a difference you can make to an organisation. Shall I give you an example?
Oh yes, please do, because the war example was a little bit depressing for me.
Oh yeah.
I love the idea. I do love the idea about, looking at things holistically, right? So give me another example. I love it.
Yeah, sure. So this is a government project where I was brought in by a board who said, right, well, we're determined to fix a problem. It's essentially about a planning activity for a national capability. And they said to me, right, well, our solution is that we want to send money single source to a particular bit of British industry. And I said to them, okay, well, so you've got a solution, you've got a problem, you probably don't need me, do you? And they said, not so fast, our solution doesn't work. Okay, interesting. Right, okay, let's tell me more about your problem. So we unpacked all this, and what we got down to was there was a belief that their national capability wasn't great. There was a belief that it was getting worse. And I kind of said, well, in all this belief, where's your evidence? What's actually going on here? And I said, that's a bit difficult. I'm sure Fred's got it. I'm sure you can imagine. I unpacked all this. There's no evidence whatsoever. Right. So I said, okay, let's gather you up some data. Let's gather you up some evidence. And actually, what we learned was that the opinion that they'd been listening to was largely the opinion of big UK industry. And of course, big UK industry was saying, well, fund us. We just need your funding. And if we don't get your funding, all this is going to happen. The really incredible thing was that the capability was absolutely falling apart in government. So the industry bit was okay. The government bit was in a complete mess. So we did a total 180 degrees on the approach. We then built a centre of excellence to support the government part. We've supported academia because that was a bit thin. The industry area didn't get as much funding. But that was, that's an example of they would have been really content. And the only thing that stopped them from just chucking money at industry was the fact they couldn't get it past the commercial folk. There was no business case to send money single source to a bit of industry. But actually the holistic solution meant that we solved the real problem rather than solving the problem that the people who wanted money were talking about. So we did great things. We saved a lot of effort, we saved a lot of time, we shored up a capability, and we did it in a holistic way. So tell me about not another digital transformation. Tell me about 10x Gen. How does that help the society, help our society and the planet?
Well, I think it's something. I'm going to take a little something from what you said there, Martin, because you've read the book and we've had a conversation about it. But Not Another Digital Transformation came about because my writing partner and I, Adi Kalra, he and I were just so tired of the perception that the main problem in the technology or in the organizations we worked in, why the organizations weren't achieving market share, why they were losing market share, why they weren't as productive as they could be, why product wasn't getting out the door as fast as it could be, was all the problem of technology. Mm-hmm. And it was that massive perception that all the woes of an organization all are fostered from technology, not playing well with others. Now, having been in tech for the last 30 years, Adi and I said, this is ridiculous. We keep getting thrust into these digital transformations. Now, we're not talking a technology uplift. We're just talking when consultants are brought in to actually redefine the ways of working of the technology department, but without taking an holistic view. So this is where there's that synergy between systems thinking and that holistic view and the 10x generation state, which is what we talk about in Not Another Digital Transformation. So it's the same thing. The idea is that we put people at the center of the organization instead of making people the problem child, and certainly technology in that space. So how does it help? How does it help people? How does it help the planet? Well, it stops organizations from putting more money after bad on things that they don't actually need, working by putting people at the center of the organization, reducing the noise and increasing the output. It's all about visibility and empowerment, and that's what we talk about. Now, if that isn't helping people and helping the planet, I don't know what is. But tell me something, Martin, just in that space, why did you decide to do this, transforming organizations through this systems thinking lens? Why did you do this?
I think it started with a very similar burning issue to the one that you started with, because as a practical person, I looked around. I mean, I'm an engineer by background, and I spent my early sort of graduate days making great engineering sort of projects, and then finding that they would gather dust. And there was it's how do you get technology into the hands of people who can use it? Technology that people are willing to accept, technology that works the way that people want it to work. And I think that was the motivation. I was tired of developing things for the sake of doing it, to tick a box to get paid, to find that it was mildly useful. We used it once or twice. It sat on the shelf the rest of the time. Well, that's a bit of a shame, because actually this could make a big difference to you. So I think it was out of that real frustration about trying to genuinely do things that made a difference rather than just do things for a paycheck. And I think that was really the starting point. And then I realised that actually it's not just about one individual. It's about a group of individuals often. There's different people pulling on the requirements for a system. And often what happens is you appease the loud people, you try to make sort of some adjustments, and in the end it's something that doesn't really fit for anybody. So again, the beginnings of systems thinking are around trying to get something that genuinely works, or get to a point of saying, you know what, this isn't possible. Let's just have one meeting. Let's get to the point of saying, you know what, you want an aeroplane, I want a lorry, somebody else wants a ship. I'm afraid that's not compatible. let's do three separate things, or let's do something completely different. So I think that was really about the sort of, that was where my motive kind of was at the beginning. What about you? What kind of led you to that moment of saying, yeah, this is it. This is where I'm gonna write this book, because
I think it's when I was sort of thrust into like the 10th digital transformation project, and I said, is this a technology uplift? Is this something that's necessary, or what is this? And it was oh, no, we're going to change all of your ways of working. And I just thought, oh, not again, honestly. I just sort of thought, threw my hands in the air and just said, oh, this is ridiculous, because technology does work. And when you actually, what I find really interesting is this concept of technology and the business. Well, I've got news for you all. It's all your organization. It's all the business. It's not tech doing its own thing over there in the corner, beavering away. It is part of the same ecosystem. And that's why we wrote the book, because we were just so tired of it. It was like, how can we stop this? Because we've worked in tech for so long, and it's what we see is throwing good money after bad. I see it so many times, and when I open up LinkedIn, and there's all the jobs, and there's like digital transformation lead, and I'm like, you know what? I don't even look at those jobs anymore, because it's like, I don't want to do that, because I know what it's going to be. It's going to be a big cost. It's never going to deliver exactly what it was needed to deliver. I think it was McKinsey that did the study that said by 2026 we'll spend $2.3 trillion globally on digital transformations, where 76% of those will not deliver the expected outcomes that businesses wanted. That's a lot of money to waste on things that aren't actually going to deliver what you need. I think I just got really tired of that, and I thought, I need to put pen to paper and say, stop it. Just stop it. And so that's what we did. That was what motivated us to write the book. And, people that have read it have gone, wow, this is amazing. It makes a lot of sense, because it is a systems thinking approach. So that's what we do when we analyse what's happening in an organisation. As you know, we use systems thinking, and then we bring in those 10x generation principles. And they really are very close to the systems thinking ideals. It's all, and as I said before, empowerment, visibility. It's really about understanding those pathways of communication and decision making in your organisation, and you talk a lot about that when on your other podcast, Martin, which was really interesting as well. But I do want to understand hurdles. What hurdles have you faced in, I guess, I'm not so much developing this, or maybe it is developing this approach, but what were the hurdles?
So I think the biggest one is that people never see the value in a systems approach truly until their immediate problems go away. And so there's a kind of uphill battle at the beginning. And once you've got, once you've sort of demonstrated that actually, yes, it allows you to see the wood for the trees. Yes, you'll be making really great decisions. You will understand your enterprise in a way that you thought wasn't possible. And suddenly they go, well, yes, of course we would do that. Why wouldn't you do it? Why would you do anything different? But a few weeks before that, they're saying, oh, systems thinking. Oh, what's that? It's costing money. It's not delivering. You can imagine. So it's something that takes a little time to prepare, and you have to be really prepared to sort of defend it up until that kind of turning point. Every systems activity has it. I'm sure you're in the same sort of situation that it's difficult to swim against the tide. There's this massive pull towards, as you said, let's just do a digital transformation. We'll just go and do that. And those who are saying not so sure, you're kind of you're an outlier.
It's the fear of change, really. At the end of the day, it's the fear of change. Nobody likes to change. Nobody likes to think that they're doing something wrong. People inherently go into the workplace every single day, and they want to do a good job. They want to know that they've added some value. They want to know that what it is that they're doing means or matters. Otherwise, why do it? I mean, yes, we've got to put a roof over our heads. Yes, we've got to feed ourselves. But if you want a bit of joy in the workplace, you want to be doing something that matters to you. And when you go in with a different approach, suddenly people are faced with having to either adopt that and abandon everything that they've known. And it's almost you've been doing it wrong all this time. But that's not what you say. That's not what we're saying. It's not what systems thinking is saying. It's not what 10x Gen is talking about. It's about, let's be courageous and brave and do something so incredibly different and really prove that this works. But it takes a lot to be able to take people on that journey. And I really think that organizational design and changing the design of an organization, when we start to want to move away from your standard hierarchical, your tall structure or your flat structure, when you start to really pull that apart and say, hey, do you know how a microsystem works? That's what we're sort of thinking we might do with your organization. People lose their tiny minds because it's like, oh my God, this is too much. And so I think it's that absolute fear of change. And you have to take people on that. And it's change management 101. You have to have some quick wins.
Yeah.
Have quick wins. You need to have that.
Yeah.
If you can't show, and certainly you're going in at that C-suite level, you really need to show you're going to save some money here. This is how you're going to do it.
Yes.
So there is that. But I guess we all could do things differently. Were there things that you might have done differently when you started this process and this approach, Martin?
Do you know, looking back on it, I think I was probably a combination of lucky and just able to capitalise on where I was. I actually think that those early days of applying systems thinking back in 2005, I was in a perfect place. I was in central government, which had a really rich set of complex problems. That was what we needed to test the breadth of this kind of methodology. And we had people who were amenable to it. I think later on, I would have probably been better growing my network a bit. But it's very difficult to do that as a civil servant, because actually the last thing that civil servants can do is what we're doing now. You can't go on a podcast and talk about everything, because at some point your words will be microanalyzed, and eventually someone will say, but there's an implied criticism of a civil service policy, and of course civil service policy is always perfect. So so it's impossible to go and talk about anything that much. So I think that became a bit of I think I probably should have got out a little earlier than I did. But apart from that, I mean, I've been immensely lucky. I've worked with some fantastic people. I've been able to test the approach in some really challenging places, and so there's not a lot I would have changed actually. How about you? What would you have changed?
I think I would have linked with more people about the concepts, and so I think that's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing now. That's why I work with you. Why I'm looking at using these notions of systems thinking and 10x generation. But I would have linked with more people just to really bed things in. But sometimes I think you just have to put stuff out there. You have to put stuff out there into the ether and see what happens. See who picks it up. And we're thought leaders, Martin, you and I, and a lot of the people that we have on this podcast, certainly. We want to push the boundaries. We want to do that. We want to say, yes, that policy does make sense, but it could be better, and this is how it could be better. And it's. I think there is that from my perspective. We do so many things. We do so much busy work in an organisation.
Oh yeah.
And we create such verbosity. We create such bloat. We call it bloat in the book. And there's so much bloat, and you'll see bloat explode. If you have a startups are just gorgeous to watch because everybody's wearing different hats and they're all in it. They're all working together for the same thing. But a startup to scale up, you can watch it bloat exponentially.
Oh yeah.
When that's not actually necessary. If I had it to do all over again, I'd work in a startup and actually scale it with 10x Gen principles.
Yes.
That's what I would do, because it wouldn't bloat. You would keep people as motivated and inspired by their vision.
Yes.
And that would be, man, that would be utopia, wouldn't it? So, naysayers, have you had any naysayers, or is it more the people in the businesses that have been the naysayers? And how did you push through when things got tough?
Oh, I had plenty of naysayers at the beginning. So I never forget my first systems thinking project. I had a scrutineer who was the independent referee, if you like, in the civil service of whether you were doing a good analytical job or not. And this guy literally sat there and he said, right, well, you're going to make £100 million decision using public money, and you're not going to use data to make it? Are you crazy? I said, no, I'm not crazy. Here is the reason why I'm going to do it, because there is no data. If there was some data, we would use it, but there is none.
Is it bad that right at that moment I was thrust back into Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade with Indiana and Elsa, the German archaeologist, and she just go through the ships. So what are you, crazy?
Yeah.
That whole bit. But yes, it's that, isn't it? It's that. It's just yes. You need You need to have data. Although there was a time when nobody knew what big data was, and then we spent over 20 years spending millions and millions of dollars on big data, not really knowing what it was. And now we're at a point of going, oh, now we understand the insights we're trying to achieve. But yes, I hear you. I hear you.
How about you? How did you get past the naysayers?
Oh, actually, I think for me it was the Addie and I felt we really had something interesting. Different thought pattern, different way of thinking, different way of organising an organisation, different ways of managing that communication, those communication pathways, creating advocacy. We had this great idea, but we wanted to gain a publisher. We had to find a publishing house, and I guess it was refining and re-refining and refining that story to get a publisher. That was the hardest bit, because trying to explain to publishers that didn't really understand what we were talking about was very, very hard. But we were lucky in that TSO, which is a UK publisher, totally got what we were saying. They totally understood what we were talking about when we told the story, and they were really as excited about it as we are. And I think I guess the book being picked up and hitting bestseller status within its first 2 weeks of publication was very exciting for us as authors. So that was something that, and I guess where would I want to see my book go now? I would actually love to see organisations buy copies of that, give it to their senior leaders and say, hey, let's bring in Mary-Beth and her team, or Martin and his team, and let's implement some of this stuff, because it actually makes a lot of sense, and this could be the game changer that we're looking for. But it takes courage to do that. But that's what I'd love to see. What do you want to see with your innovation?
I think it's very similar. I mean, I think when I look at what organisations do, there is this continual sort of focus on accounts, for example. There's certain things that organisations do. They pore over those figures and they make sure they're allocated to the right tax bucket, and and all that. And that's something that they absolutely have to do. And you think, okay, well, that's fine. You're protecting yourself. You're making sure that you're not, forgetting to pay your taxes, or all the things that can take an organisation down. Yes, that's important. But at the same time, if you put in about 10% of that amount of effort into using systems approaches as part of your activity, you would gain an enormous amount of additional output. You would be more efficient, you would be more effective in what you did, you would be faster at reacting, you'd be making decisions that were based on the right type of evidence for the situation. And so actually improving the decision making in the organisation, even by just a tiny little bit, will have massive effects. So I would like to see just a tiny fraction of that sort of accounting spent on improving decision making, and oh boy, will our organisations work well. That's a massive game changer.
When you've got AI out there and you've got these organisations that are implementing it well, there aren't that many that are implementing it well, but by the way, in my opinion, my humble opinion, yeah, absolutely, they need to be doing something that's different. They need to shake things up a little bit. Otherwise, they'll be the Kodaks of the world, and we don't want people to be that. I guess from my perspective, just for all of those tech people that are listening to the podcast right now, I would love to see an end to the never-ending cycle of digital transformation, because A, I don't think businesses actually understand what it means.
No.
And B, I think it means a whole lot of things to a whole lot of different people. And so get your structure right. If you get that right, then that's what I would love to see. That's what I would love to see. And I think systems thinking and 10x generation is possibly the way that you could do that.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
So we're at the final bit of this podcast where we're going to ask each other So this is the best bit. Okay. So if you've been listening to our podcast for a while now, you'll know that we have this crazy ass question that we ask all of our guests. And we do give them a heads up because they go, oh, wow, okay, I'm going to need a couple of weeks to come up with a good meaty response to that. And we've had some amazing responses. I love the responses, whether they be the best response ever or just something that's just well off the wall. But I think it just shows the innovative minds of the people that we've got on this podcast. So, Martin, if you found yourself awake in front of aliens bent on destroying the planet, how would you convince them not to in 25 words or less?
But it's home to great food, to cute animals, and to David Attenborough. And really, you wouldn't get a nightlife anywhere else in the solar system.
I know you had to put Sir David in there because David Attenborough's he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Totally.
All right, do you want to ask me?
Go for it. Go for it. If you found yourself awake in front of aliens bent on destroying the planet, how would you convince them not to?
Allow us time to grow into the utopian society we are destined to become. Help us evolve into the powerhouse I know we could be.
That is awesome. Absolutely. That is great.
I'm a tricky.
Yeah.
I sat there thinking, aliens aren't going to come here and they're going to be Vulcans and going to be awesome and it's coming up to first contact soon. So
Yeah.
if you're into that. Wow, what a great conversation. Thank you for joining us on Techcentric Planet. Join us for our next episode where we tease out another amazing innovation designed to help humanity. And remember, if you've thought of a problem, chances are someone out there is developing a solution for it. Thank you, Martin, for the wonderful interview.
Thanks, Mary-Beth.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.